Welcome back. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're joining from. Welcome back to the Women in Learning and Development Conference. We are on our final day. We're at our second to last session, and we have a brand new speaker with us. So I'm super excited to introduce you all to Erika Moree. Before we begin, and I tell you a little bit about Erika, I want to remind you that there is a chat function, so please use the chat. Questions are welcome throughout. You can, ideally, you'll put your questions into the Q&A pod, but if not, you can also put them in the chat, and I can move them over, and I'll help with the Q&A part throughout the session. So let me tell you a little bit about Erika. She has over 15 years of experience in diverse industries, including health, finance, and technology. And she has a knack for building and scaling learning initiatives. Starting her career in a call center, she discovered her passion for enhancing performance through education. Armed with a degree from the University of Central Florida, now, as a consultant, she leverages her expertise to help organizations improve their learning strategies and business outcomes. So thanks for answering the speaker call, Erika. We're super happy to help you. I'm going to go ahead and hide myself from this stage and let you take it from here.
Awesome. Super excited to be here. Thank you again for the opportunity. I'm really excited to be presenting my journey today. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, I could find a lot of content on the technical instructional design and all the things you need there, which is great. I already had that experience under my belt, but I had a hard time finding content around the business side of transitioning from being in a corporate organization to being a one-stop shop. So I wanted to bridge those two together, specifically for those that have learning experience. So here we are today. My organization is called Learning for Leverage, and pretty new shop, but we are already net positive for the year. So my success is the lights are on, and I wanted to share some of the things that I wish I knew and I've learned along the way. So really the goal for the session today is to provide practical advice for those that are interested in understanding the realities of a career move into freelance instructional design. I'm not saying that what worked for me worked for you. As I've been talking to freelancers, and I've literally talked to hundreds in the last 3 months, everyone's journey is just a little bit different. But I've picked up pieces of advice here and there that have really helped me be successful. So my intended audience today are really the freelancers or aspiring freelancers who really want to know about that business side rather than development of the technical design skills or portfolios. So the content isn't really surrounding around portfolios today. There's a lot of great content out there. Today is really focused on the practical becoming a sole proprietor, what tools and technology, and kind of the journey along the way. And I am not a lawyer, so no legal advice today. So let's go ahead and see who we have in the audience with us. This is a technology called AHA Slides. It's very similar to Mentimeter if you've used that before. So if you feel like it, go ahead and jump in here. And love to know if we are talking to people that are currently in a full or part-time role, currently looking for work, or you are currently a contractor, so I can make sure to kind of address those particular audiences. You can either join on your web browser or on your phone. Scan the QR code or type in ahaslides.com/A5MFV. I'm not collecting any of your personal information. It doesn't collect any of your contacts, so I promise it's not a sales gig. It was just something to make the conversation today more interactive. Okay, so looks like we are even Steven. That is fabulous. I think this will apply across the board. Oh, we got another one looking for work. Now, to be honest with you, how I got started as an entrepreneur is really due to the market. So I didn't walk into the role like thinking, all right, I'm going to be an entrepreneur now. It's definitely a journey. So as was alluded to in the introduction, I started off as a training specialist, a team of one. I know a lot of you have been there. So I was the trainer, the knowledge management, instructional design, whatever was needed. I was that person supporting about 100 people at a call center. And I went from health insurance into training management on the facilitation side. I became a director of learning and development, but eventually ended up on the instructional design and learning technology side, supporting over 15,000 learners at Synchrony, which is a bank. So really had quite the journey there. And right as COVID hit, just like everyone else, all the learning went from being hybrid or in person to being fully remote. And I was definitely part of that transition, and my team of 30 mighty people getting us through. So from there, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try something new. I was a little burnt out. So I actually joined a tech startup. Crazy after being, there for 13 years and making my way up. And at the tech startup, it was an awesome company to work for. I got to wear many hats. So I got to be the learning leader, but there's only 12 people. So I got more into the customer education and startup phase. And eventually I ended up in product, and I was supporting the back and front end engineers and actually developing our SaaS tool to help companies support clinical research for patients, which had a lot of learning and development elements. And in October, I was really thinking through at the end of the year. I think we're all really reflective then. I was like, okay, I went way off the deep end here. I'm agile certified. I got all these cool skills, but I miss learning and development. So I decided I was going to come back into learning and development after 2 years of being away. And when I did that, I saw the job market and had to make a decision. Am I going to invest all of me into finding a new role, or all of me into finding a new career? So I decided to invest in myself. And in October, I decided to open up my learning consultancy shop. Luckily, my awesome previous employer was my first client. So they were super supportive, and I definitely was able to be honest with them about what I was doing, what was going on. That is not something that everyone has. So I'm really grateful for that. But they really helped me transition into what I'm passionate about. So this is kind of the story over the last couple months, and I'm going to give you the strategies for the first 90 days to get you started and to get you net positive. Back onto this, we only have a couple more of these. What do you think was the first step into being an entrepreneur? What advice have you gotten? I know we have a lot of freelancers already on the line, or what have you heard? Just throw some words in there. There's no wrong answers here in what you think the first step is. Portfolio, LinkedIn, resume, great. More coming in here, getting your LLC together, save money. Yeah, for sure. This has been a family affair. My husband is a stay-at-home dad, so that was a little scary. Software, building our websites, perseverance, research, making business plans, all of these really, really tactical things. And by the way, again, no wrong answers here. So as you're seeing this, take a screenshot, because all of these things are completely true. But in my situation, I ended up doing something a little bit different than the rest. I kind of jumped off the deep end, and I just started. I didn't worry about my portfolio. And like I said, it's been 2 years since I've been in learning development. I had one, but it was looking a little ancient. No case studies, no ROI. Website, I had a name for my company, but client base, besides my current employer, who was really awesome and supportive, not so much. So I'm going to go through kind of the steps that supported my journey in hopes to help you. Now, not everyone's in a situation where they want to quit their job and start a new freelance career. So this advice is really meeting you where you are, meaning that if you want it to be a side gig, see it with that lens. That's not a problem. If you're quitting your job, you can see it with that lens. If you are somewhere in the middle looking for work and thinking about this, this is something you can do while applying to jobs. In fact, I did do that for the first 2 months because I wasn't 100% sure. But yeah, let's go ahead and dig into it. So the roadmap at a glance, I'm going to go through this stuff really quick so that we can get to questions. I'm really hoping that you guys can ask really good questions because I'm in a mood to tell all. So what the reality is, you let me know. I will make it happen. So really, it's about committing, sourcing, branding, building, marketing, and iterating. Those are the 6 steps that I've been taking to be successful in the last 90 days or so. So talking about committing, I love this. This was this little logo here, this image is really was made on bathrooms instead of the skirt. It was never a dress. Women are awesome. And I have found that women entrepreneurs have been the best and easiest to talk to and have been more relevant to my situation. So you guys are all superheroes out there. Everyone is, but I really love that. So really committing is the act of committing to freelance instructional design. At first, I was kind of like yielding both. I was spending time applying to jobs. I was spending time in building my business. And I made a mental commitment that I'm going to still apply to jobs. I'm still a little incompetent, but I'm going to go ahead and make that commitment, start my business. And that mindset really, really helped. I know it sounds really simple, but full commitment. And full commitment for me, I put myself out there. I made a post on LinkedIn. Okay, that might be jumping off the deep end too much. So starting is the hardest part, I think, out of the whole freelance opportunity. So starting means having a conversation, having lots of conversation. Find your network, find your people on LinkedIn. Offer coffee chats. I've literally had so many people that are willing to help, willing to support. I ask for a virtual chat. Okay, I get told no sometimes. That's okay. Or I get ghosted. But talking to other people who've been successful at it, who've done it well, who have a great brand, on LinkedIn is what I looked for because that's something I aspire to be. And ask them about their journey and about how they did it. People want to help generally. So have had really good success there. You're not going to have all the answers. You're never going to be ready. I have a friend who is starting an instructional design business. She's been starting it for 2 years. I'm very supportive of her journey, but she's busy making her portfolio. She paid someone for making a formal brand guide. She's designing a website, right? She's always working on preparing to go into business that she spent 2 years and thousands of dollars, but hasn't actually, made that leap. So starting for me meant talking to people and putting myself out there on LinkedIn. And I got a contract on this step alone because when I put it out there that I was working freelance, my very first contract, it was a small one, but my very first contract came through just on that message alone. And it's someone I had mentored in the past who was now someone that was in a position of hiring power. So no matter what, you're not going to figure it out. Trust in your ability and build an abundance mindset. I know it is hard out there. I too, received rejections from jobs and other things. Been told no a lot from customers, but it only takes one yes to make it all worth it. There is so much of a need for instructional design out there. And I know the job market doesn't say it, but there's a lot of contract opportunities. And you're going to find your next opportunity most likely by networking and talking to people and not so much from, applying to things on LinkedIn. Okay, I'm going to pause there before we go to the next step and let's see if we have any questions. Okay, it looks like we have a question on, did I have an LLC before I posted on LinkedIn? I actually did not, and I'm going to go through that in some of the steps. The LLC came after I got the commitment to the first contract, and my first contract was my employer, I did W-9. My second contract, I did W-9, and then I went into full LLC. And, those were companies that were willing to do that. So I was a sole proprietor when I first started, and I made a commitment to myself that I would remain a sole proprietor until I reached $50,000. That was my personal goal. And after talking to the advice of counsel, that was like putting me in formal business mode where I wasn't going to apply to any jobs anymore. So that's what I did there. And then we have another question. Your advice for someone who's looking for freelance work, but also wants to keep their current job. Yeah, that is tough. I definitely have been in that position before. What I would say is you can still network behind the scenes, right? You're not going in and asking, hey, can I do some work for you, right? It all starts with a chat. So I'll see someone on LinkedIn, for example, and they're a client of mine, or in your case, you might be looking at other freelance designers to start, and they'll say something interesting on LinkedIn. I will use that as an opportunity to warm connect with them in the LinkedIn chat. Like, hey, that was really interesting. I'd love to learn more about that. Would you like to meet for a virtual chat? And then I am able to make connections like that and have real and meaningful one-on-one conversations. The other thing is there are a lot of communities out there. I will post them in the chat where you can apply for contract roles. So those are direct, they're kind of like communities and networks. So, as long as your other people aren't in there, you can definitely use that too. And then I know this sounds really simple, but going on LinkedIn and when you search for contract instructional design, also try part-time instructional design. I've gotten some gigs that way too by identifying that. And last but not least, I would say, if you see another freelance company subcontracting might be a good opportunity for you to start. Okay, just going to answer, we got a couple more questions here. So does applying for contracts work for newbies? So I think yes. I think you do have to have a portfolio, but I don't think the portfolio has to be the end all be all where you spent weeks and months. I've seen portfolios built successfully out of Canva, and I know that our formal, really experienced people might be rolling their eyes, but everyone has to start somewhere, and not everyone can afford the $1,500. It's really about the strategy behind your learning and making sure your learning is really solving business problems. So if you're able to build a smart portfolio, or if you can't even get that much, just like some case studies that you can send over, they really just want to see what your capabilities are. I think making those personal connections would also be helpful instead of blind applying in that situation. Okay, last question here before we'll move on. Advice for someone who's making a career pivot to instructional design, but also wants a freelance start a business. Do you recommend getting full-time, part-time ID experience with a company and then going freelance? I think that, having experience with someone who has really done instructional design, which you can get through corporate, is a great opportunity. So in the company I worked, I had other people that had instructional design experience. So I was learning and growing in my corporate role. So I think that's really great. It's very effective, but really it's a personal decision of what you want to do. Right now I'm working with some junior instructional designers to help me with my course transition. So that person's a transitioning teacher. So again, the opportunities are out there. You just have to find and make the right connections. Another quick tip would be to go to your local Association for Talent Development group. A lot of times they are posting kind of local roles, and you can talk to the person at the meeting. That is where actually I found my subcontractor that I have right now. So people are willing to invest, but I do like the corporate role from the perspective of it gives me experience in working with other instructional designers. But your journey is your choice. All right, I'm going to keep jumping here on the slides. So like I said before, I did not start with my LLC. I started with having conversations with people. Are people interested in my services? I got some hits from my LinkedIn post, and that went really well, but I had to start reaching out to people, and I started with people that were safe, people that I'd worked with before, people that knew me from my previous organizations. And I started conducting informational interviews. And those are a lot easier to get than a sales call. I actually even use informational interviews now to get sales. So again, I connect with someone and I say, hey, what kind of problems are you having at your organization? I'm thinking about starting a freelance business, or I have a freelance business. I want to make sure it's really targeted. What kind of problems are you having? And, it's just doing market research, but a lot of times that conversation can turn into you pitching a solution for them. I also would say to test out your value proposition, how your services can help solve their problems or fulfill the needs of potential clients. So as you're talking to them and help brainstorming with them and running something by them, you can also run through your pitch and people will give you feedback and support that are buyers. So again, it's just asking for the connection and making it happen. With connections, again, I get told no all the time. I take it just as personal as I did when I, got the rejection offer and I know a bot looked at my resume. It's totally fine. But you have to ask to receive, and you are worth it. You are remarkable. You are capable. So just put the ask out there. Sometimes we are in our own way. And I say that as a person who has done that in the past. Okay. After I were not getting business anymore out of talking to people, that after that stopped working, then I started to really formalize my brand. I really enjoyed talking to people and doing market research because it helped me to find my niche. People do not want generalists and instructional designers. They don't want to say, hey, what's the problem? I can solve it. What's the problem? I can solve that. They want to feel like they're hiring someone that is very specialized in their industry. So your value proposition really matters. I lost many sales and had very floppy sales calls because again, I have a sales background, but I just went out there and, started talking to people. I didn't really have a formal process. I had this one call where I was like, what do you need? And they're like, oh, we need this. I was like, okay, I can do that. And they're like, are you going to say I can do that to anything? I'm like, well, I really can. So yeah, I'm going to. And it just didn't give them confidence in my skills and abilities. So finding your niche is not really like a topic. It's not like I'm good at instructional design, but it's more like I help salespeople to improve their KPIs through learning experiences. So my niche at Learning for Leverage, what it's really turning to be, and it has been a journey. I have projects kind of all over the place, but where I'm really finding my sweet spot is being an extension of the learning and development team and being a learning strategist. So where I'm really strong in getting a lot of sales is supporting the strategy of hearing the business problem, identifying the set of learning solutions and how we're going to measure success. And then other instructional designers are actually coming in and helping us there. And that has been my strong suit. I also am very strong in selecting and procuring learning technology. So I'm finding that not so strong on the, technical instructional design. And that makes sense because I was an instructional designer a really long time ago and a learning leader pretty recently. So that has been my sweet spot. But the more things you can say no to, I'm not that, I'm this. Being a generalist, you think you're opening yourself up to opportunities, you're really closing them. So get very focused on what you're going to do and why. So that way your value proposition is very clear. And PS, you don't have to have just one value proposition. You can have two. So when I have my meetings with people I've met from LinkedIn that were kind of a cold connection, again, maybe I saw a cool post or I saw that they were my target. I was able to get a meeting with them. I'm not presenting any kind of solutions on the first call. I'm having a legitimate conversation. Sometimes you just get to meet cool people and hear about cool things, and it kind of ends there. But if they do identify a problem and it's a problem you can solve, you can then go back out of your 3 value propositions. And I did have 3 at the beginning, one for learning technology, one for learning strategy, and one for organizational development design. And then you pitch that very specific item to them so you can appear as a specialist. But in my journey personally, I did that after I started talking to people, but I really think that's why, I'm net positive in basically 5 months. So it's something I think might be cool. Put yourself out there, learn early, and iterate, and don't like perfect the solution and then go out there, just like we do in real instructional design, right? Like iterative approach. And definitely where I started with my wording, my personas, my verbiage is not where I landed. I started talking to clients, right? So I thought I was going to be going in and helping the business and kind of being the learning person. But it turns out that my client is actually learning people. So when I'm talking to a business person, I don't say, oh, I leveraged the 5DI model. It's a combination of the ADDIE model and the SAM or Agile model, and really takes both the best elements, right? Like someone from the business is going to be like, what was that? It's just a bunch of learning jargon. We need to talk to them in languages that they understand. But when I'm talking to learning folks, I can leverage those terms a little bit more, although you can't always make assumptions because it depends on, how long they've been in the space, and models are always changing and ever popular. But anyway, just make sure that you're being really intentional about your words, your personas, and how you're selling yourself. Over here, there's something called a value proposition canvas. I actually learned about this at my local ATD meeting just last month. I'm always learning new things. So I wanted to pass it on to you, but it is a model. There's like some really great YouTube videos if you just Google it. And that actually helps you to narrow in on your products and services and making sure they're built off the gains and pains of your clients. So I found that very helpful for me to get out of my L&D brain and put myself in a business mode. Okay, let me just cover some things on here, and then we will get to some more questions. I see a couple more have been maybe in the chat. So we are on the build now. So once I, again, kind of did my business backwards, I started talking to people before my stuff was built or delivered. I got to a point where I needed to decide on what my business structure is. Ultimately ended up in an LLC. That was the best for me. A lot of people are sole proprietors, so you'll want to talk about what the best options are for that. Basically, I chose an LLC because it limits any liability that I have on my personal assets, like my home. So that gave me peace of mind, and I also keep my taxes completely separate from my personal taxes. I have my own business bank account. By the way, I got to my credit union and check with your bank because it was free. And not only was it free, but they have invoicing software and all sorts of stuff that I thought I was going to have to pay for that was included. And that was a really nice thing. One thing I wouldn't skimp on is when you're ready to talk to a tax professional, because they can help you with making the right choice and also making sure that you are taking your taxes out. As a sole proprietor, you have to take out your taxes quarterly, or there can be penalties. And they can also help you with write-offs, which a lot of startup expenses, even like hiring that tax consultant, can be considered a write-off. So that is not one place that I wouldn't, just go to H&R Block and figure it out myself. That is one place that I did spend money personally. And then invest in technologies as needed. You don't need a whole solution up front. Buy it as you need it. Secret, I didn't buy Articulate until I had a client who I needed to design for. I didn't pay the $1,500. Luckily, I could, I already have my portfolio, so I just spruced it up a little bit and called it a day. If I have transitioning friends on here, I would say to Articulate is not the end-all be-all for instructional designs. I would look at other design tools like Co-Assemble. I really like for brand new people. It has an AI component. I think it's $5 or $10 a month. Is pretty cheap, and there is a free plan. So if you're someone who's considering or noodling on it before making the investment, again, that's the standard. So if you really get into it, you're going to most likely need that service. But to start out, you might be okay. You're also going to have to decide how you're going to get paid. So in the business bank account, like, am I going to accept credit cards? I decided not to because the transaction fee is really high. But some people do. Are you willing to accept PayPal? I have most of my clients going through and doing ACH or doing a check. So that's what worked for me, but your needs might be different. And then Yeah, the legal contracts and documents. That part came quicker than I meant it to because I got that first contract off of LinkedIn. Make sure that you are ready and prepared and have those. There are a lot of templates out there. And I did, to be honest with you, use a template for my W-9 clients, and that went fine. But they were small projects, but I did go through and work with a lawyer when I became an LLC to develop a legal contract. Okay, let's see. I think we're good on the questions. So almost done here. Just want to see, with a lot of our friends that are new or tenured in the industry, can you just jump in here and give some of your tech recommendations, especially if you're an entrepreneur, that you might, it doesn't have to be design specific, just like tech tools. I like Trevor AI, so I'm going to throw that in there. Trevor AI is a tool that helps you manage your tasks. So I have a lot of different clients, a lot of things going on, so it keeps me sane and gives me my to-do list in my email. I also like teamwork.com. That allows you to show proofs to customers, and there's a free version. Mural is a great one. Trello. I'm going to put co-assemble too. That's a good design one. Ooh, Asana. So we got Notion. So we have some project management tools. Figma. I learned Figma in my last role. Great. On my website too, you don't have to, again, put your information in or anything, but I sourced from, I did a series called Learning Design on a Dime, where we covered technologies under $100 for freelancers and designers starting out, and we curated a list of 100 items. So if you go to Learning for Leverage with the number 4.com, you can download that list. Yep, Canva is my friend too. Ooh, time tracking toggle. Yeah, I use Clockify too. There's a free version there, and you can use it for invoicing too. All right, I'm just going to let this keep going for another couple seconds. I see participants are still typing, and crowdsourcing on this is always the best way. Lucid, Twine, Toggle, Synthesia. Well said. Helping us with our AI voices. HeyGen is really cool too. I made an AI video of myself so I can make myself say anything. It's kind of creepy, but it is really cool. All right, awesome. Okay, and the last part is marketing and iterating. So as you start to develop clients, really most of my success has really been off of clients and referrals. So I wouldn't say that I've sold too much on my website yet, but I have gotten engagement through content marketing. So if you look in my LinkedIn history, I was marketing again to businesses directly, and then you see me switch to marketing to learning and development teams, since they are the ones that are really my buyer. So focus on your strategies to align your target clients, engage in speaking events like this one, join this network. It's really awesome and it's free, and it just connects you with like-minded people and other people trying to figure it out. No one has all the answers, but together we're better. And if you go to conferences, like even the bigger ones in the industry, if you do a speaking part, or sometimes you can even do a volunteering, and you can go to the conference for free, because I know money out of our pocket, every dollar matters. So that's a way that I've been able to get there and still engage. And then you got to ask for the business. You got to have the confidence to do it. This has been one of my blockers and biggest learning opportunities, is always ask for referrals. So you're talking to someone, even if you're networking with them on LinkedIn, hey, do you have someone that would benefit from my services? Do you have someone you could recommend to me? Anyone you do work for, can you get them to do, a nice quote on their website, or better yet, recommend them to a colleague? People talk all the time, so that is really your currency. That's worth its weight in gold, is word of mouth of your awesome services. So that's kind of been my journey over the last 5 months there. I really appreciate your engagement and support. If you would love to connect, I would love to connect with you. So you can find me on LinkedIn or on my website. You can email me. Happy to do one-on-ones for people trying to figure it out like I am too. So virtual chats, I'm really down for anything. So give me a call if you're interested in collaborating and figuring it out together. Thank you so much for your time today. Back to you, Cyndi.
Thanks, Erika. That was super interesting. I love all the tools that you were sharing at the end there. The real life advice. I know lots of the people on here are trying to figure it out. And some of the questions that have come up from earlier in the week are some of the specifics around that setting up the business, right? So the LLC, which you answered, which is so helpful. Invoicing, scope of work documents comes up often. How do you set up pricing comes up often. So I'm sure there are people in the audience that have questions around those things. So if you have any advice that you didn't around anything I mentioned that we didn't cover.
Yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice is, and it's just kind of summarizing what I already said, but put yourself out there.
Cool.
And ask for help and ask for the business. The software recommendations on invoicing, I would say Clockify is a good example. Free is for me, so it is free. But honestly, also check with your bank, because I'm kind of using a combination. Your business bank account might have those services included. So
Yeah.
those are my two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was another question here. What if you like doing a variety of types of training? How do you balance that with the need to niche down?
Yeah, that is definitely me. I am a fan of being a jack of all trades. But I think you can do a lot of things. Like I'm doing a lot of things for different clients. Like one client I'm working with, I'm supporting an LMS transition for them, right? So they see me as an LMS person. Another one, I'm creating a workshop for them. They see me as an OD consultant. So I was able to do that by identifying their need and then creating that value prop to meet their need. And like I said, I have 3 pitches. So I call them my 3 personalities. But once you get in the door, a lot of times you can vary your projects as well. It's not about choosing one path and fully committing. It's about making sure that you're choosing the right path with the right client at the right time.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like we have some comments in the chat too from others. PayPal Business can do invoicing.
Nice.
Life plan for developing a business plan. So something that struck me when you were just speaking there was that you have 3 pitches. So give us some quick advice on developing that pitch. That how do you develop that elevator pitch? Because it's you don't have a lot of time. You got to tell your story Shark Tank style, right? So how do we do that?
Yeah. So less is more. My pitches are generally only 3 to 4 slides, not including the cover and thank you. And I am very focused on the business KPIs. So I'm getting right to the sauce. I don't focus a lot on I worked here and I worked there and these people trust me. Those things are on there, but I focus more on their need and how I can solve it. And like I said, I have that information because I had an initial call with them or with someone that helped me understand the problem before I pitched a solution. So I know our business friends don't always love that, but the 2-pronged approach I've been much more successful because I go in with intention and my pitches is very customized. If I go in blind, I'm a little less likely to get the business, I feel like.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. I don't think we missed any other questions. You're getting some support with emojis. Yeah, I don't see any other questions. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate everyone in the
Congratulations
today.
on your business and making that transition and doing what what you love, really, right? Like, and helping other businesses execute with solid strategy. That's a good opportunity for sure. Let's see. Freelancing is hard to keep constant work. That's from Sarah. Sarah, I
Yeah.
think that just comes with the networking and the recommendations and the referrals. You know. So I do have a question for you about your portfolio and keeping. How often are you planning to like update that as you go? As you go through gathering work, and are you asking for permission to showcase some of that work? How's that happening?
So I do put in the contract that I am allowed to show the work to other clients. I have had pushback for more of my enterprise, Fortune 100 clients on that, but they did allow me to show their logo, and we agreed on doing a case study once the project is completed. But I do ask for that up front. When we are talking about the portfolio specifically, I know this is not probably advice everyone would give, but I am actually targeting my portfolio also to the client. So on my public webpage, again, at the moment in my business, my website isn't a direct traffic source for me. Word of mouth is, and my networking is. So I have some stuff on there just to show you I do it, but I'm actually sending a customized portfolio. So I have like 20 solutions, but I don't say here's 20 things, because again, that's showing me as a generalist. So I choose 2 or 3 and make sure I'm really focusing in on the KPIs and the output, because that's just how 2024 is. They don't care what the learning strategy and solution is. They want results in the business. So I put more effort on showing less learning solutions and doing more on the ROI. And it's not necessarily on my public website.
Okay, we do have a question that didn't get answered, so let me put that on the stage. For those of us coming from K to 12 or higher ed backgrounds, any thoughts on where to look for opportunities where our education backgrounds would be valued?
Yeah, I really love transitioning teachers. I actually had the opportunity as a director at Go Health to hire several and to support several. And the grit, the power that they bring, the ability to have strategic and critical thinking, I just think is really awesome. So just wanted to say that. I know there's some things to learn, but every time I've invested into a transitioning teacher, I have felt like it was a win for everyone involved. When we are talking about K through 12 or higher ed, I would say, I know that I sound like a broken record, but networking is really how you're going to get in the door. Sarah Stevick, she's on LinkedIn. I would recommend connecting with her. She is a transitioning teacher who was successful, and she has a community. It has thousands of people in it that are on their journey. So finding your like friends. But as far as getting roles, I was able to hire teachers in insurance and in finance, and that might not be a place where you thought it might be. And again, those were made from hiring from portfolios, and then ultimately, when I got a really good teacher, she brought some other really good teachers through to our organization. So network and just make sure your portfolio is where it needs to be. Again, don't spend a year making it though, so.
Yeah, good advice. Okay, there's another question here from Dr. Michelle Robertson. I'm going to show it here. What might a portfolio look like for a non-ID L&D pros? How do you show results for your consulting work?
What I would say is a case study does not have to be based on a real situation that happened. So if you go to the Articulate community, e-learning heroes, for example, they're posting weekly challenges. I think Tim Slade too is another one. He posts monthly challenges. So I recommend going and looking at those challenges. You don't have to participate and submit, although you get a little cool award if you do, which is nice to put on your portfolio. But I would just use that as a prompt, right? And if I had let me tell you a real story really quick. I had someone who made a learning solution on how to build a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And that's what it was in her portfolio when I did the interview with her. And I was like, why did you build one on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And she had a reason for me. It was a silly reason, but it was about her being a mom and her kids being more self-sufficient and making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. It might be not real, it might be real, but we really need to see the strategy behind the why. So if it's like, I made a learning about cats because cats are cute, right? That doesn't really showcase your skills. It's really about using learning to make a difference. And a difference could be a business KPI. It could be a difference in your life. It can be a difference in a specialty that you bring to the table.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So I can also recommend that if you're not involved with like an ATD chapter, that's a great way to get volunteer work. I know that our chapter, ATDOC, partners with One OC that also has access to lots of charities and community organizations that need help like this. So, and it's free because they're charities and they're nonprofit. So that's a great way to get involved and get some work and help them out and do it for the good too. I don't see any. Oh wait, there's a new question in here. Let's see. I'm going to move that to the stage from Sarah Griffith. Do you have in the contract that clients have to provide data on ROI? How do you ensure to get that info? Good question.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually. I don't have that in my contract, so that might be something I might need to add. I will say for one of the engagements I'm doing, we're actually going with a mobile first learning strategy. So we're using a tool called 7 Taps, which is, it's not an LMS, but it's a very light version. They don't have a way to reach their learners mobile, but they are in the construction industry. So it became really important. Because I'm an admin in their enterprise tool, I made that part of the contract. So I'll definitely be able to get the data because it's my job to get the data and show the ROI. Yeah, I definitely could see how that would be a challenge. So I would think just like having those conversations up front and, that proactive thinking, just like you're doing now, is a good way. And if I can think about how to put that in the contract, I think I'm actually going to steal that idea from you.
That's a great idea. Okay, I'm going to mark that one answered. Somebody wants to know what ATD chapter you belong to.
ATD Charlotte, and there's virtual events too, so you don't have to live in Charlotte to be part of it, right. But it's an excellent community, and if anyone wants a guest pass, hit me up. I'll get you one.
Same. I belong to ATDOC. I'm a VP of memberships there. I can also get you guest passes, and you can do that with any ATD chapter. They all offer something a little bit different. One of my favorite ATD chapters is Houston. They're very active, and you can join even some of the learning sessions for a very low cost. Sometimes they're $5, $10 for some of the webinars or events that they have, and they're pretty great to be a part of, just to see what it's about. But if you join a chapter, then you get tapped into the volunteering and stuff.
Nice.
Yep. All right, let's see. There's another question. We still have time, so let's keep going. Any thoughts about how to approach showing value if your projects don't have much hard data attached to them, small audiences?
I think proactivity is the answer. So you have to figure that out up front as you're solving the problem and identifying the learning solution. So often, definitely in early and mid-career, I already had learning as the solution when the business came to me with the problem. So, they already came to me and they're like, hey, Erika, we need to train on this. Like, hey, gotcha. Do you want that in e-learning or ILT, a little pepperoni, right? So I started thinking a little differently at Synchrony. And when I was approached with the role, I would identify, is training really needed in this situation? We had an amazing knowledge base. And sometimes the answer was no, we needed to fix the knowledge base, right? Or we needed to, we had one time we did a little job aid thing, was a little Post-it on their computer, solve the problem. Not a not a 3-hour ILT. So I think upfront is the way to go. Leverage, the Kirkpatrick model wherever you can. It's an oldie but a goodie, and find opportunities. So there's like a workshop I'm doing right now, and I asked the client, what does success look like? And success was like, oh, we just want NPS scores. Like, were they happy with it? I was like, all right, well, I guess that's going to be easy. So that's going to be a win. But as a business owner, I don't want to say I made someone happy, right? I want to be able to put on my website that I changed the world with this learning solution, at least in this little way. So it's actually like a wellness event and how that supports managers. So what we're going to do, and we weren't going to do this before, is I'm actually having them fill out a 30, 60, 90 through 7 taps. And then I have permission to email and text them, and they're going to promote it on their side too to see how many people completed the activities. So that's an activity completion rate. But then those activities are doing things that we needed them to do that would be successful in the business, like attending a wellness session was one of the KPIs that we came up with, back at the corporate office, and we have plans to measure like their retention rate based on who did the 30, 60, 90 and who didn't. So I have a lot of buy-in there with the stakeholder from that proactive conversation, but like data didn't exist, so I made it. And we're not all the way at a level 4, but we're not at a smile sheet status either. So
yeah, that's good. It is tough, I would say, to get that data after you're done, right? So coming from the other side of it, I have hired companies that have helped, helped us execute X, Y, or Z, and they reach out 6 months, 12 months later and ask for feedback or ask if I'm willing to provide an update. So yeah, I would say that's right on point with some of the experience from the other side of it. Okay, looks like everyone's sharing their ATD chapters, which is great. Florida Suncoast, ATD Boston. I recommend Central Ohio. Take a look at that. You can go to their websites and look at what they're offering in terms of what workshops they have. Workshops they schedule every month, and check in that way. Baton Rouge is in the house, so love that. All right, we have about 7 minutes left. It looks like we got all of the questions answered. I don't see anything more. Just a few comments. All the chapters are listed in the link. Thank you, Erika. Yeah, I can't say enough about ATD. If you're just getting started and transitioning from education, this is a great resource. They actually have a lot of free tools as well, and they have advice for consultants too. They're doing a good job of that. Like our chapter is going to start building out a consultant directory from all of our members. So that's something that different chapters can do. So check that out. Thank you so much, Erika. You've been such a resource today. So much helpful advice. Good luck in your business. I can't wait to hear how it goes. We can't wait to have you speak again. So you're always welcome to come back and be a speaker with us. ATD, we have one more session today, but I did want to say that TLDC, beyond this week, we do things year round. We do things weekly. Luis is sometimes, we do something where we highlight members and just kind of get to know people and what they do every week. We have an online virtual conference like this every month. And we're even thinking about doing a live conference here, not too far from now. So that's exciting. And we have Dr. Michelle coming up that's going to, be our keynote closing. Super excited about that and looking forward to hearing from her. I'm hearing nothing but amazing things about her from outside of the conference. Believe it or not, Michelle, everybody's just saying you're amazing. So don't miss it. So go ahead and take a little break and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks, everybody.